This presentation examines the global lithium market by focusing on two critical dimensions: reserve depth and current production. Lithium has become one of the most strategically important minerals because it sits at the center of battery supply chains, electric vehicles, and energy storage. The purpose of this deck is to identify where the world's largest lithium assets are located, which operations dominate output today, and which projects may drive growth into the future. For investors, the key takeaway is that scale, geography, and execution all matter in determining which lithium assets are most important. This slide introduces the reserve side of the analysis. Lithium reserves are one of the best indicators of long-term strategic value because they show where future supply can come from. In this section, the reserves are measured in million tons of lithium carbonate equivalent, or Mount LCE, which allows brine and hard rock assets to be compared on a common basis. The ranking also includes mine or project name, country, and operating company. This matters because lithium supply is not only about geology, it is also about jurisdiction, ownership structure, and how quickly projects can be developed. The top 5 lithium reserve assets reveal how globally distributed lithium really is. Thacker Pass in the United States ranks first, followed by Cauchari-Olaroz and Olaroz in Argentina, and then Greenbushes and Pilgangoora in Australia. This top group shows 3 major themes. First, the Americas and Australia dominate high-quality reserve rankings. Second, both brine and hard rock deposits matter. And third, the companies leading these assets are some of the most important names in the sector. For investors, this top tier contains the projects most likely to shape long-term lithium supply and strategic market positioning. Ranks 6 through 10 add important diversity to the reserve picture. Phoenix Goulamina, Sal de Vida, the Cauchari project, and Albemarle's Atacama position show that Argentina remains one of the most important lithium jurisdictions globally. Rio Tinto also appears repeatedly, which highlights how major mining companies are building a stronger presence in lithium. This part of the ranking is especially important because it combines established production, advanced development, and future optionality. For investors, these assets may not all be producing at scale today, but they represent a meaningful part of the next layer of long-term lithium supply. Ranks 11 through 20 highlight the wider pipeline of major lithium assets. Kathleen Valley, Shakichuwanan, Wodgina, Grota do Cirilo, Bikita, Galaxy, Mount Marion, Iwoya, Wabuchi, and Mount Catlin show how broad the development landscape has become. Australia remains dominant in hard rock lithium, while Canada contributes several large future-facing projects. Brazil, Zimbabwe, Ghana, and Canada also stand out as emerging contributors. This slide is important because it shows that the lithium market is not defined only by the top 5 assets. There is a wide second tier that could become increasingly relevant as demand continues to grow. This slide shifts from reserve depth to actual production. The analysis now focuses on 2025 output, measured in kilotons of lithium carbonate equivalent. It also includes a 2026 reference outlook and a longer-term 2030 view, which helps separate current production leaders from future growth stories. This is important because some large reserve assets are not major producers yet, while some active operations already dominate current supply. For investors, this transition from reserves to production is where the market becomes more actionable. Output, not just reserve size, determines near-term revenue, market share, and supply influence. The top 5 lithium producers in 2025 are led clearly by SQM's Atacama operations in Chile, followed by Greenbushes, Pilgangoora, Wodgina, and Albemarle's Atacama production. This slide highlights how concentrated the global lithium market still is. Chile and Australia dominate current production, and the leading operations are large-scale, strategically important, and backed by major operators. Another key takeaway is that the production ranking is not identical to the reserve ranking. Some of the biggest reserve holders are still development stories, while these top 5 are the mines and operations with the greatest direct impact on current lithium supply. The next 5 producing operations show the depth of the industry beyond the very top tier. Mount Marion and Kathleen Valley reinforce Australia's production leadership, while Arcadia in Zimbabwe highlights Africa's growing importance. Cauchari-Olaroz and Grota do Cirilo show how Argentina and Brazil are also becoming more meaningful contributors. This is an important slide because it reveals where the next layer of lithium supply is emerging. For investors, these operations may offer strong growth exposure, particularly where production is rising, but market valuation still depends on future execution and expansion potential. The final takeaway is that the lithium market is both concentrated and dynamic. Reserve ownership is spread across a limited number of major jurisdictions, while production today is dominated by a relatively small group of leading operations. Significant growth is expected between 2026 and 2030, but that outlook depends heavily on project execution, ramp-up timing, and broader market conditions. The 2030 numbers should therefore be treated as directional rather than certain. For investors, the most useful framework is to combine reserve size, production relevance, jurisdiction quality, and development progress when evaluating the global lithium opportunity.